Here it is in a nutshell, my friends. If you were born and raised in the northern half of Turtle Island, you were not born a Canadian. You were just born as a being. Over years, you were trained and inculcated to self-identify as Canadian. But that label was, and is, an unnatural implanted sociopolitical identity. That psychological conditioning was made legally binding when the government tax cattle branded your metaphorical forehead with a social insurance number and an all-caps legal identifier, which signed you up for the racket of statism, perpetual debt slavery. Here is the ugly and uncomfortable truth, my friends. We were born into a statist regime that is built on mass murder/genocide, duplicity, eugenics, exploitation, institutionalized theft, psychological warfare, kidnapping, torture, and ecological destruction in the name of profiteering. Don't believe me? For those that think involuntary depopulation and violent state-sponsored eugenics operations are just outlandish conspiracy theories or something from the distant past, read the post linked below.
I am here to tell you that your process is deeply flawed. In fact, it is an insult to our people whose ancestors entered into a treaty not just with Canada, but also with Ontario. Bill 5 is a direct attack on our nation. It is a direct attack on our treaty. And it is a direct attack on our children. I was in the legislature 2 weeks ago when this bill was being debated during the second reading. And I heard government officials respond to the questions, saying that they are doing this to fast-track development and to eliminate red tape. I am here to tell you that our treaty is not red tape. Our rights are not red tape. And the rights of our children to have a prosperous future is not red tape. In closing, I want to reflect on a discussion I had this morning with our elders at breakfast. One of them, Wally McKay, former Grand Chief of NAN, former Regional Chief of Ontario, compared this whole experience with this bill to an assault on our land and on our people. And as you know, or as you should know, our people have been subject to assault and colonial violence for a long, long time. Whether it was through the Indian residential school system, the child welfare system, or Ontario MNR officials flying into our lakes and rivers and taking away our people's traps and fish nets and hunting gear to try to starve our people. We should reflect on this violence and the racism that comes with it, because the day is coming when our young people will say enough. And that day is today.
Some people might say, but Gavin, I do not celebrate Canada Day because I support the government. I do it because I love this country. Okay, let's unpack that a bit, shall we? What exactly is a country? And how did the entity called Canada attain such a status? In short, every country in North America, and every country elsewhere as far as I am aware, is essentially an area drawn within lines on a map within which a certain band of imperialistic thugs has managed to murder, oppress, trick, lie, steal, and gaslight their way into taking land from a diverse group of indigenous peoples, by force used in combination with various types of fraud and other chicanery. And they now claim to have the right to tell people what they are and are not allowed to do, with their lives and their money, within that geographic region of stolen land. Within that region of land, that a group of specific thugs masquerading as noble individuals has declared they own through violence and force. Those particular organized criminals claim to have the authority to extract money from anyone that is born in that region. whether you like it or not. And if you resist, they will assault you with armed thugs, steal your possessions, kidnap you, and lock you in a cold, dark room. The land that is now called Canada has only been called that for less than 2 centuries, and those that already lived here when the people that created the entity called Canada arrived had their own names for this land. Thus, if it is the land and the people that now live here which you love and want to celebrate, it is illogical to do so under the waving flag of a nation-state and governance structure that is built on mass murder of innocents, lying, stealing, ecological devastation, pillaging, and fraud. I love the land that most people now refer to as Canada deeply, but I do not erroneously conflate that love and admiration with a relatively new involuntary governance structure and some arbitrary lines that were drawn in the sand by well-organized thugs. I refuse to pledge loyalty to a band of glorified thugs that proclaim the right to take my money and use it to prop up Big Pharma, clear-cut the old-growth forests, carve into the bones of the earth and poison her sacred waters to get lithium for sustainable e-vehicles, instigate and perpetuate wars for profit, and pay for subsidizing GMO agriculture. Rather, I seek to forge my own unique path to come to know the divine and trust my intuition as I learn more about my place in the universe. I swear allegiance to and loyalty to the Creator creation, including the living earth, those beings close to be that I share my life with in humanity, not some multi-generational racketeering entity that coerces me to pay its minions using the threat of violence. May the seeds you sow in hearts through acts of kindness return to you in a harvest of joy, camaraderie, and peace. May the seeds you sow in minds with courage, persistence, honesty, and humility return to you in a harvest of worthy allies and old friends you can trust and rely on, and may the seeds you sow in the rich earth return to you in a harvest of food for the soul and longevity for your body.